Andrea, for decades, this has been portrayed as an upper middle class white people issue, that minorities are not environmentalists, that this is something that if you call a meeting on it, you're only going to get a small subset of the entire community. Has that turned? Has that changed? Has that profile changed so that if we go into San Antonio, if we go into the South Bronx, if we go into Los Angeles County, that it's no longer just a white upper middle class thing, it's an everybody thing?
That's a great point, Ray, because when we're talking about who is sustainable and who is environmentally friendly, we think of maybe the Caucasian couple with 2 incomes, no children, driving around, the hybrid, living in a house that may have solar panels or not. That brings us back to the conversation about incentives and what are we doing to make living a sustainable lifestyle affordable for Latinos. We need to be providing tax incentives so that they can afford the hybrid cars, the fuel-efficient cars, or the cars that run entirely on electricity and have 0 emissions. But for Latinos, this makes sense. And despite the fact that 1 in 4 families lives below the level of poverty, despite the fact that 1 in 3 of them lack access to health insurance, and despite the fact that they're among the most unemployed and the ones that have been the hardest hit by the economic recession, they're willing to pay more every month in energy prices to make sure that their energy consumption and that a larger share of it comes from renewable sources.
So if in the next election cycle, candidates appealing to the Latino electorate push environmentalism, that's a winning issue for them politically?
We have found that they are willing to call on their members of Congress and to vote in Senate elections, whether it's midterm elections or presidential elections, to favor a candidate that is most likely to promote policies that want to fight climate change, improve energy efficiency, and make sure that our environment can be clean and that our air is not poisoned and our water is safe for our children to drink.
Last year, Javier mentioned that there was a vote in California about whether or not to get rid of or suspend the clean air laws there. And Latino voters opposed it by a greater margin than Anglo voters or by African American voters. They were demographically the largest group in opposition, and this was a referendum that was put on the ballot by a couple of Texas oil companies in order to weaken the laws that they have to comply with. And Latino voters opposed it by, I think, about 66 to 33.
So the changing demographics and the new census numbers mean that the politics of environmentalism could change, and soon?
I think when Latinos see pieces of legislation like this thing that was passed by the House of Representatives about pesticides, they're going to remember. And they're going to, next year there's a general election. And at least the Sierra Club will do its very best to remind Latino voters who voted to increase the amount of pesticides in the environment and who voted for protecting our communities and our families. I think this is going to be a very interesting election as far as Latinos are concerned.